Arsenal dropped points against Aston Villa at home in the Premier League on the weekend. They were 2-0 up, but then shipped a couple of goals and couldn't find a winner at the end of the match. Is it the defence? Is it the attack? Jim, where is it going wrong for Arsenal?
It's a complicated question, I think, with a lot of different answers. So let's try and break it down, I guess. I think a big part of it is finishing. There's a situation at the moment where no one in the team at all is being really clinical, is being really ruthless. I think maybe Leandro Trossard possibly gets a pass on that, but even then at the weekend he was through on goal, missed a chance he should have scored. He was offside, you got to put it away. It's an example that the sort of shooting boots are just not quite there at the moment for anybody. And the obvious thing that you come back to there is the lack of a natural number 9 in the team. And I think if you look at Gabriel Jesus as being a player who's played a lot of his career wide, if you look at Kai Havertz, who's played a lot of his career as a kind of weird kind of 10-9 hybrid who doesn't feel like a natural striker, there isn't a striker at the club. Not even, there's not even really a youth player.
Well, Eddie Nketiah was perhaps
exactly. He was the last person there. Maybe they're a sort of dying breed, and they're harder to come by generally. And I think we are seeing that in the market in general. But I think part of that means that there's a natural lack of a focal point, and when the confidence has dropped in front of goal, which I think has happened with as I say, most of the players, if not all of them. There's a sense that sometimes they kind of even get in each other's way a little bit. There's maybe no one's quite taking full responsibility for being the guy who buries it. So everyone's looking for a layoff, or the chances just feel sort of like half chances. And I suppose in those moments, that is when the window closes on a chance becoming a half chance, and then the chance going begging. So I think there's a problem there, and this is a team that scored the most goals Arsenal have ever scored in a Premier League season last season. Mikel Arteta would be the only player that wasn't there involved in that, really. And it's something they really have to address, because they're making a lot of chances, which does give me confidence that they're going to be able to fix this. But the quality of the chances doesn't seem that low, or that high rather, whatever sort of XG might tell you. It feels like they're just they're in the box a lot, and they're not really kind of coherent when they get in there. And I think it's a big problem. And that's compounded by obviously personnel issues. Being without Jesus isn't ideal, despite the fact that he had a lot of trouble in front of goal before having this recent sort of hot streak. Bukayo Saka is easily Arsenal's most productive player in terms of end product and output, and making those layoffs that give people tap-ins. Obviously, every team has to deal with that, so you build a squad in terms of trying to kind of fix that. Martin Odegaard's shooting boots have deserted him. He scored one goal this season, I think, and that's from the penalty spot. He is one who's kind of maybe lacking confidence, becoming a little bit predictable in how he's playing. And
doesn't even always score his penalties.
Doesn't even always score his penalties as well. Yes, I mean, how do you feel when you? I'm obviously closer to Arsenal watching them, because I'm an Arsenal supporter. I go to every game I can get to. Does that seem realistic to you? Does that seem fair?
Yeah, I think it does. I think that if you contrast them with Liverpool, they're the team that they're chasing.
Yeah.
Liverpool against Brentford, there's an inevitability that they're going to score.
There's a sense of a load of foxes descending on a hen house when Liverpool get into a box, isn't there?
There is, yeah. And Darwin Núñez was fantastic, Mr. Fox, against Brentford. And that's the thing. Darwin Núñez obviously been criticised in the past for his lack of finishing and so on and so forth. But that goal they score, as you say, often Arsenal, they want to do what used to be the Pep Guardiola Man City cheat code, where someone just runs down the wing and then squares and it's a tap-in, which seems remarkable, but that is a very effective move. But that's putting it in very basic form. There's so much movement, there's so much happening that it's the classic thing, right? You make it look easy, but of course so much has gone into the training ground for that to happen. And Arsenal seem to lack that particular move. If it's not a moment of magic, I mean, they're relying on maybe a long shot or a pot shot from Declan Rice, and it nearly paid off, but Emi Martinez made that save. Whereas again, it's maybe harsh to cherry pick one game and compare, But actually, you can extrapolate that out. The fact is, Liverpool are 6 points ahead with a game in hand.
It is interesting to me that you mentioned that specific move, because Arsenal's right-hand side last season was so productive, and that was Ben White, Odegaard floating out, and Bukayo Saka. Those three players have played a very small amount of games together this season. I think it's something like 5 where they've been on the pitch together, and they are essentially the most effective outlet Arsenal had in their terms of goal scoring last season. So personnel issues are absolutely a problem.
Yeah, but when the chips are down, you need someone who's got a keen eye for goal, and Trossard's a good player, and he does have an eye for goal, but he's not the 15 to 20 goal a season striker or whatever it is. As you say, he's an attacking player, but he's not going to sniff out that half chance.
I mean, he set up both goals at the weekend, but the point stands.
Indeed, and I know that it's funny, isn't it, how in football we go through phases and so on, because you think about the old sort of number 9s, as we used to call them, and they're out of fashion now. Well, of course, now people are thinking, we could do with a 15 to 20 goal. 15 is maybe a touch conservative.
Yeah.
You'd want that sort of 20 goal a season plus striker. Erling Haaland, of course, does it in Manchester City, for crying out loud.
But he's a freak, isn't he?
One of the most talked about players in world football. I take the point. But Haaland's a bit different, actually. But some strikers, it's not like it used to be back in the day where they're just goal hangers. I know Haaland, there's an element of that, but again, a bit different. And he won the treble and they won 4 Premier Leagues on the bounce.
But he is a sort of, in terms of his finishing abilities, like a Swiss Army knife, isn't he? We've not seen him score with his top knock yet, but it's probably... he scored with his perineum last season.
He scored with the Buffman's Bridge.
Exactly.
So all types of goals from him. But Arsenal do need that, as you say, focal point. And if you look around some of the other sides in the league, okay, you might say that Liverpool don't, but they have Mo Salah.
Yes.
So let's leave that there. But they do have Jota, who comes in and scores a few goals.
He's an amazing finisher, yeah.
Indeed he is. And then there's Nunes again to provide something. But I agree, Arsenal are lacking that, because I think they can be a bit predictable at times.
Yeah.
And they've been set-piece heavy this season, and set-piece goals do count, everybody, by the way, so that's fine. But when that's you can't rely on it, because low percentage play really if you just rely on corners. I think that you're right, they do need something when they're on top and they are pushing a team back. Who's the guy in the box who's going to grab some goals and take those chances and be very, very clinical. By the way, everybody, if you like this video, do give it a like and do subscribe. That would mean the world to us, so please do that. But back to the striker situation, is there anybody on the market that you would think that guy would be decent for Arsenal? That guy is a bit more something that Arsenal could do with that front.
The absolute dream that everybody is talking about, pathetically, is Alexander Isak, of course. Now, that would take Newcastle probably losing every other game this season.
Yep.
I think if they get in the Champions League, Haaland is as likely. He's the one everybody wants in the dream scenario. I don't think it's necessarily that realistic.
And his price tag
His price tag would be huge, but I think Arsenal will be able to pay a massive wedge for a striker in the summer.
Really?
I think they would go plus 100 million for the right person.
Okay.
It's just knowing if that person's there, isn't it? I think the target they really want is Benjamin Sesko. Okay. I don't think they'll get him this month. I don't think they will sign a striker to fill that hole this month. I just don't think that person's going to be there. They've gone in hard for him. He's obviously aware of the interest. I think there's probably a dialogue happening with that. Arteta loves him. Obviously, he's 21, so he's still got a lot of room to grow. I think his record is around 1 in 2 this season, which is obviously great for a player of his age. And I think, when a club go really, really hard for a player, they've obviously got a plan and they're thinking about it. And he certainly fits that mould as well. And he is an absolute unit as well as being sort of very kind of dexterous and mobile, which is sort of what you need. So I think he's the player they're kind of going to go all out for realistically. Gyökeres, I'm not sure they're going to sort of follow up on that. He'll probably end up with Ruben Amorim. Who knows on that one?
Yeah, don't burden him with that.
No.
Better off staying at Sporting, perhaps. No, but I think Sesko is one that people have mentioned and gettable.
Yeah.
I think, with no disrespect to where he's playing and so on, but you get the big money move to the Premier League and so on and so forth. I mean, do you think that is really the key area for Arsenal now? Because for years, if you go back to the Arsene Wenger years, it was always a defensive midfielder.
It was the replacement for Vieira, wasn't it?
Exactly, and that went on and on and on. And I feel that there's a little hint of that here with regards to
it is much more than a hint,
right,
Marcus.
much more than a hint.
Much more than a hint. People have been talking about it for probably 2 years. It's an important thing they need to fix, and it's a big part of the problems they're having at the moment.
Thank you very much for watching the video. Do hit like and subscribe. And for the full Football Ramble podcast, where we talk about all the main stories in the Premier League, go right here.